The Crew is an immense online-only racing game that, above all else, boasts an ambitious open world of preposterous proportions. Its size, however, has taken a toll. Its visuals and effects are lacking, the sound lacks oomph, the economy gets off to a stingy start, the multiplayer community is fickle, and the missions are too often undermined by some frustrating AI that brazenly cheats to ratchet up the tension.
Keep it up, kid!
What The Crew gets right is its stylized and scaled down version of the entire continental USA. Cities are shrunken caricatures, but traversing the truly vast, sweeping tracts of land between them really does capture the spirit of a cross-country, city-to-city road trip better than any other driving game before it. But when you slow down for a closer look, everything's lacking in the kind of granular detail we now expect in modern open-world races, and overall, The Crew struggles to shake the look of a game several years older than it actually is. The Crew bills itself as a massively multiplayer game, but my first time through the campaign felt largely like a single-player experience. I'd suggest finding some like-minded friends to organise with for the co-op story missions, rather than relying on the unreliable matchmaking to find willing strangers from your session, which was rarely in my experience. It's definitely the best way to take on the often overpowered AI drivers. It's infuriating that The Crew is obsessed with making sure the computer-controlled opponents you face, race or chase in the solo and co-op missions can always keep up with you, regardless of how completely outclassed the car level system says they should be. Allowing the AI the ability to match your pace undermines the whole car upgrade system. It also extends to the AI-driven cop and enemy cars, who have a supernatural ability to bend the rules of the game's driving physics at will.
We're gonna hit him. Heads up.
At least it drives fairly well. I like the handling more than, say, the slightly floaty and imprecise old black box era Need for Speed games, but it's a little less honed than the likes of a responsive arcade driving game like Driver San Francisco, and the sound mix is off. Handling improves as you earn vague performance-boosting parts, but the brief loading screen after each victory can be a real momentum killer.
Good work! Keep this up and you'll get your ink in no time.
FBI, hands where I can see him.
My brother needs help. He's... How are you doing, man? Help him! He's bleeding out!
The vapid story that's supposed to be coaxing us through the Crew's 30 to 40 hour main thread of missions is a pove-faced framed man trying to clear his name plot, plucked from the same pile of napkins EA uses to scroll down the story for Need for Speed. There's a fairly narrow selection of main mission types dangling from this hokey narrative, and they're all generally riffs on a few core concepts. The mission set gets repetitive, but the locations are pleasantly ever-changing. Sticking to the campaign isn't as lucrative as I'd anticipated, however. At the end, I found myself at the level cap, out of story missions, but without enough cash to buy any of the most desirable cars. I'd expected more high-end cars to work toward, though. The selection is a little light. There is still plenty to do following the conclusion of the main campaign, though, and once you hit level 50, the Crew truly settles into its RPG groove as you're encouraged to grind challenges until you score the best possible drop of car loot for your ride. You'll need to secure these rare platinum car parts to make any sort of meaningful dent in the Crew's PvP lobbies. There's another layer of very lengthy events outside the main story thread, and at least one of those warns us it'll take 4 hours to complete. But I found the robust PvP races are actually a more generous source of cash prizes. Although it's biased towards whoever brings the fastest car, I was still incentivized to keep plugging away despite the fact I wasn't winning. I've enjoyed the PvP, but I don't know that I'm engaged enough to keep coming back to it. The Crew deserves credit for the frankly staggering size of its open world, and the fact that it's filled to the brim with respectable arcade racing challenges, a fat multiplayer offering, and lots of exploration potential. This scope, however, has resulted in some noticeable visual concessions that leave the Crew in the competition's dust. The racing itself is too often hamstrung by AI prone to unfair bursts of speed that do nothing but frustrate, and I was surprised at just how expensive some of the cars are in relation to the game's often miserly winnings. For more on the Crew, stick with IGN.